What's happening, sir?
Listen,
Uh-huh.
well, one of the books is a
Yeah.
book that's been out of stock for a long time, and I got an alert this morning.
Mm.
It said, "Hey, it's back in stock." So I
Yeah.
was like, "Well, I have to buy it now."
Yeah, you just have to. Yeah.
And then while I was there, I was like, "Well, there's these two other books that I wanted to get for a while. I might as well buy them." And then what was the fourth one I bought? Actually, five books.
You you gotta get your life in order. You just got to.
Welcome back to the Cool Comic Show. I'm your host, Damien, and with me, as always, is your other host, Galactic Mr. E, aka Mr. E, aka E. My brain almost slowed down for a second there. We are here to talk about the final two episodes of Miss Marvel. Um, let's just get right to it because the internet is a buzz. It's a buzzing.
It is
Um,
be doing that.
we're gonna jump to the end.
Jump to the end.
I have a question for you, E. When Kevin Feige was a little boy,
Uh-huh.
wherever he grew up,
Uh-huh.
do you think he was bullied by someone who was a big fan of the Inhumans? Because this man hates anything Inhumans. I don't know what they did to him. I don't know why he's so mad at them. But in this finale of Miss Marvel, they not hinted, but straight up said that she has a mutation in her genes.
Mutation.
This was
Mm-hmm.
the very first time that the word mutants, which was a banned word for so long in the MCU, was
Mm-hmm.
acknowledged. Obviously, we saw in Multiverse of Madness, we saw Professor X was a different version of him, but they said
Mm-hmm.
mutations, and uh, they had the little X-Men theme playing.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes. Like like a mutation.
So
They did.
overall, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about that, but just with the last two episodes in general, and we'll get into the details of the episode. Everyone's talking about it. That's the big talking point of this episode. So I wanted to get to that first.
Um, as far as the reveal, I was like, okay, like it led to something, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So like I was happy we got like two kind of big reveals because I told you like a couple of weeks ago, with them not really knowing what to do with the villain,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the finale they had to have some big announcements. I didn't get my kaiju fight
Yeah. You
between.
almost did when
Uh,
she was big, and she almost.
she did do Embiggen. Shout out to Embiggen as well. Something she says in the comics.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, I was looking forward to the finale because I knew it had to have some meat to it
Mm.
because like we've been saying this whole time, they haven't really had a villain. They've not really been leading up to anything. So I'm glad we had some major reveals uh, in the finale. One of them being the mutants. When the theme song played, I got the same little grin that I had in the theater when they played it. When Professor X came hovering out. Um, and you know, R.I.P. the Inhumans. But you know, the Inhumans technically they only really got big because Marvel stopped using the X-Men for a minute there because they didn't have the movie rights and they got the movie rights now, so they're like maybe this is what they wanted to do with the character the full time and they just couldn't when they were revealed. I don't know, but like it's going to open up the door for a lot of different backstories for a lot of different characters as we move forward, and then like it's have the X-Men been there the whole time and we're just kind of getting into this. You know, it was a good reveal. I enjoyed it. The season as a whole, I enjoyed aspects of it, but I think it fell victim once again to Marvel's Disney Plus run, where this 6 episode format is just not doing any of their shows the justice that it deserves. If this was an 8 episode or 10 episode show, or 9 episode like WandaVision, I feel like it would have hit that much more for me. But I feel like I just could not get past a lot of the pacing issues because the pacing really messed with a lot of the plot and you know the character last episode in episode 5 when Najma died. I was so confused when her essence just kind of like floated to Cameron.
Yeah, it was not
Um,
explained.
so like I feel that could have been better done had we had more time.
Mhm.
But a lot of these things got streamlined because of the 6 episode format. So, all in all, I love the design of the season. I love the design of the series. I feel like this was the first time Disney Plus and Marvel have really had a great like creative team behind
Mhm.
it to just kind of encapsulate the character as a whole. It captured the youth of the character. Um, but I just, like I said, I think it just really suffered from that 6 episode format.
Yeah. So I agree with a lot of that. Talking about the reveal specifically, I can see why people are upset of it, and I can also see why people are excited. Me
Mm,
personally, I'm a little. I want to say the word conflicted because it's a comic book. It's a comic book show. It's not that serious.
yeah.
Um, but with me, I'm a big fan of the X Men. I'm a big fan of mutants, and I feel like I don't hate the decision, but I also think it's just kind of weird. I guess
Mm,
from what I know, I don't really know much about Miss Marvel from the comics, but from what I know, she's like the most popular Inhuman, right?
mhm. She
Um,
is.
and
Yeah.
so I think it was just I'm curious of why they made that choice of like we're gonna make her a mutant. Again, this it's could change later on. Obviously, this was her
Mhm,
friend who's a high school kid who's going at Caltech.
mhm,
He may just say it's like a mutation, but obviously what they're hinting at. So I am curious to see what they're gonna take it. I think it's just weird. Because I mean they one of their biggest mutants that they've had for years obviously is Wanda, even after the Fox merger and stuff. So like I said, I don't hate it specifically. At the end of the day, it's a comic book show. It's not that serious. Like I'm not one of those people that are like this needs to be 1-to-1 and this and that. But I think like the difference between Inhumans and mutants is very like specific stuff in terms of
mhm,
how they operate and how mutants are treated in society and how Inhumans are treated in society. So it's just a
mhm.
weird, interesting choice, but we'll kind of see. But the other part of me is very excited because I love the X-Men and I love mutants, and it's like for years I'm like, man, how are they going to introduce mutations? How is this going to be, finally acknowledged? And now it is. So Comic Con's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But in terms of the rest of the season, I will say these last two episodes, episode 5 and 6, I enjoyed them more than I did the first 4 episodes.
Mhm,
Honestly, with episode 5, jumping back to that one, that was the one mostly was a flashback to Aisha, her great grandma. I kind of liked that. Like, I was like, I want some more, maybe like another extra episode or two here. Like, that would be a cool little fun side story. But we got that. That was really cool. And the whole episode was about the mothers kind of reconnecting with their daughters, with Kamala's grandma and then her mom. And then that's
mhm.
where Najma died. So yeah, when she died, I was like, I don't really understand. Like, so is she transferring her powers to her son? Because they didn't really explain it. And then obviously we
Yeah.
kind of saw it with the
And it was
finale. Go ahead.
it's kind of a fake out as well because in when Najma dies, her body kind of does this chrysalis thing
Yeah,
before like she disintegrates. So a lot of people were saying that it was the first nod to Terrigenesis
the
in
Terrigen
the
mist. Yeah.
MCU, which is very inhuman related. And then we cut to the next episode and they're like, you have a mutagen. So it's like what's going on?
It's so weird.
Um, but like not season 5,
Episode
episode
5.
5, I was really mixed about when I first watched it
Mhm.
because, like I said, I did enjoy I enjoyed aspects of it. I enjoyed the history behind it. Um, the time travel, I feel like I don't know, it was kind of weird to me.
She had the
Um,
flash effect where like she was the cause of her
yeah,
grandma getting the power and it like a loop.
yeah, it's the bootstrap paradox where
Yeah.
it's like a fixed point where there's this cause and effect. So I guess this was the way it was supposed to happen, but then you get into like we just had Loki who was like all up in the TVA, but since this was supposed to happen, they're not showing up, and it's like
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
true.
They just need to get your time travel rules together.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like I said, I enjoyed like the history of the episode. I enjoyed um aspects of it. The time travel was kind of wonky in a way, and then the whole death scene and the essence traveling, and then all of a sudden Cameron has his powers. I was just like, I don't understand, and we're probably never going to get that full explanation.
So does he have
Since
powers in the comics? That
he
character?
does have, he's
Mhm.
an Inhuman in the comics as
Okay.
well. So his body is actually made of light. Because he's actually a childhood friend of uh, Kamala's family,
Hmm.
but they move away. And then when he comes back later in life, he's affected by the Terrigen Mist,
Okay.
and so his body gets like transformed.
Yeah.
Now he does become like he is a love interest to Kamala in the comics, and he does um, kind of become a villain as well. So they did play into
Yeah, I
that
saw a little bit
aspect
of
of the
both.
character,
Yeah.
which was really nice to see. Even though, like I said, the whole transference of essence thing just it threw. I think it. I think that's the part that threw me out of it,
Which I
where
think
I was just
honestly is a
like, I don't
perfect.
understand what's going on.
I think that's a perfect explanation of this show. Is like, don't get me wrong. There's throughout this season, there's stuff that I really enjoyed that was really cool, and then there's also
Mm,
stuff that threw me off. It's like, why was that a choice? And I think
yeah.
that's a perfect explanation of the show. Of like, there are things to enjoy, and you'll have a fun time watching it. I think
Mm,
the show's at its strongest when it's focusing on Kamala,
yeah.
just her as a character. But something I after watching the final episode, I realized that a lot of this season was more of a story about her family and her
Mm,
ancestor more than her.
yeah.
We had a little bit of time with her in high school, and that was kind of it. But this was more about her family background. And again, I don't really know how the comics are specifically with her, but
Mm.
I just excuse me. There's the parts where I enjoyed it, I really enjoyed it, and the parts that threw me off, like you said, that threw me off. I was like, okay, that's that's weird.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, but I guess we can just go ahead and like dip into the
but
final
yeah, the final episode,
episode.
yeah.
It's titled No Normal, which, fun fact, is the name of the first graphic novel featuring her,
Oh,
as well.
when did
And
did
it's the graphic novel that the series pulls a lot of information from as well.
what did
So I
she
thought that was a
debut
nice
in?
nod.
Like, did she debut in someone else's comic?
2014. She did premiere in 2013 in Captain Marvel,
Okay.
but she had her own line premiere in
Oh
2014.
yeah, Captain Marvel number 14, August 2013. Okay, cool.
Mhm. Yeah. But yeah, so I liked I liked this episode. I think it was a solid end to this series, even though it still, had its pacing issues. Blatantly, her brother and Zoe showing up at the school.
Yeah,
She's like, "Oh,
that
I
was
do my TikToks here."
that was
And
my
I was just
first note.
like,
My first note I had for this episode.
so, excuse me. So yeah, so like it still had its issues, but I really enjoyed that we kind of got to see her collect her costume throughout the series, and
Mhm.
then we finally got it. Um,
So how do you feel about that? Like, I feel like this or Marvel has it a lot. Going back to the Netflix days, where
mm,
their character doesn't get any suit until the very final episode.
I think it worked here because we saw the build up to it.
Hmm.
We saw her get the bangle in the first episode from a grandma. We saw her get the blue vest from Waleed, the red scarf from Kareem. She got the mask from Bruno, or Brian, whatever his name is.
I have a note
And
about
then
Bruno too for this episode. Go ahead.
and then her mother found the necklace a couple of episodes ago. So like I like that we saw it put together piece by piece, and I like the callback to episode one where she gets the bangle. It comes in the same like box.
Yeah,
Um, so I appreciate it, and honestly, this is one of my favorite outfits in the MCU right now.
looks really good.
Um, it's really good. It was really well put together. But yeah, I just enjoyed seeing that in this episode. But what was your note?
So the
Uh,
first note I had, because like
mm,
normally when I'm watching, if we're not doing a live reaction, I'll like kind of make notes throughout the episode. But
mm.
I kind of have general thoughts that I'll keep in my head, try to remember. But the first note I wrote down was it wasn't until they get to the high school, and my note says Zoe shows up out of nowhere.
She does her TikToks there, dog.
And that was, and I understand they were trying to connect it of like, oh, she saved her life in the first episode,
Mm,
and now she wants to keep her thing. But the issue was we
yeah,
didn't have anything between then,
not
between
really.
then. So that was just random. But another note, so that was my first note. The second note I
Mm.
wrote down, most of my notes were from that fight in the high school. I put damage control or dress for laser tag. That was what I wrote.
So like that what's her name? Deaver? She's
Yeah,
clearly
Diva.
racist.
Oh, super racist. There was something earlier. She was like, "This is what
Clearly
happens when you
racist.
give these people these kind of powers," and then people
She
were
says the
trying to,
wrong people.
oh, the wrong people,
And then
and,
she's like, yeah, kids. Okay.
people were trying to imply like, because I like to like try to keep up with people are saying online because they'll point out stuff that I don't see. People online were saying, "Oh, that's trying to foreshadow that the discrimination against mutants," and I was like, "No, this was her implying that she's racist." Like,
Yeah, no, she's just kind of racist.
uh,
And when I say kind of, oh boy.
speaking of racist, something that happens to a white character in this,
oh,
obviously they're running around the high school doing their whole plan. Bruno walks in, sees himself getting cucked by Kamran and Kamala, and then he helps them escape.
R.I.P.
And then he's like, "Hey, like, I'm here. Why does the damage control use the most excessive force on him?" Threw his ass against that window, and I was like, "This is a kid. He's white."
Guys, come dance with me. You know you like these moves. Hey guys, what's going on? You want? Oh, please, hands up!
Yeah, I think honestly this finale is gonna get overshadowed by the mutation part of it. But I think,
believe so.
yeah, I think the issue with this episode, aside from that, was what we've already mentioned, that there wasn't really like this one antagonist force she was going against all season. With Moon Knight, he had Arthur and everything like that. And Loki, they kind of had like the TVA, but who's really behind the TVA and kind of stuff. WandaVision kind of had herself in a way, and also Agatha. And so the Disney Plus shows have had it, but this one, like, they didn't really have anybody. Then the clandestines show up, and then they're gone, and then the Red Daggers, but then they're helping her, and then so like there wasn't really any. And then the damage control department was kind of just in the background the whole thing. So it was.
And then Cameron was just kind of mad,
just kind of there. So like there were parts in this episode that I laughed and I thought was fun and cool, but I think by the time we got to the mutation line, I was like, all right, this show is very up and down. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know how fast or how slow it wants to be. But I do think there are things to enjoy in this show. And I do think, first, basically it's nice to have representation in this show, the way that it gives it. But like we mentioned already, there's a lot of things that it can improve on. And so, I didn't write down everything that happens in the show or in this episode, so I remember. So it's mainly just the high school fight, right? Does anything else? Like, obviously, the damage control department, they go to the mosque a couple times, and they're not racist, but they're racist, And...
there is a part where, the episode opens where she's telling her parents about not her parents, but her father and brother.
Oh yeah,
about
her powers,
being Nightlight, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I already know." And it's kind of, it does kind of go back to the comics where she tells her mom, and her mom already knows.
Yeah.
In the comics, so I thought that was a nice little reference, another reference to the MCU as a whole. When Cameron and Bruno need disguises, he just hands them hats.
The MCU disguise hats. It has halal and haram on it. And I like how the white kid has haram. It's perfect.
And like that's just it's a callback to like the MCU as a whole, because every time Captain America or Scarlet Witch or anyone just needs a disguise, they just put a hat
like
on.
almost every character has had that moment, right? A hat with sunglasses on.
So I enjoyed that. But no, like you said, I think the fight was the main point of the episode. Because we see Cameron and Bruno, we're following them for the most part throughout the episode, trying to get to a safe space, which turns out to be the school, which is not safe because they're found immediately. And we see Kamala suited up, kind of running around the city, which we got some nice shots from in that as well. And then the rest of the episode was just Deaver's just being kind of racist everywhere.
Being racist.
I like how I don't like, but it was kind of realistic, where when she walked into the mosque and she was about to ask everyone for their IDs, they already had them out. I was like, damn, that's kind of real. Like they've been through this before.
If you're part of any minority group that meets anywhere, you've been in that situation before. That's why I would say, like, it's the representation is good to have.
Exactly. And like I can see why people are saying no, it's just the mutants, but like mutants were for us, it was
Yeah,
for minorities in the
yeah.
first place.
That
So
was the whole
like
point.
in a way they're not wrong, but also she's still racist.
Yeah, at that point she's just being racist. There's not even mutants in the mosque.
so so but yeah, so we can go ahead and talk about the second big reveal.
Oh well, before
Um
that, so just a other quick shout out you're mentioning. Nakia did have that line where where Bruno brought Kamran to the mosque, and she was like, "Why are you bringing him here?" She's like, "We're a mosque in America. There's probably like surveillance to this and like the sanitation department." Like I was
yeah.
another kind of thing. But before that reveal, the last thing I had noted here was
Mm,
there. She's talking to her dad on the balcony or the little roof, whatever,
mm.
and she's trying to figure out a name, and he's explaining the name to her, and then he's it was very heartfelt. There was actually a lot of heartfelt moments in these last two
There were.
episodes that got me a little bit emotional. But this one, I laughed because this is just the pain, the DC fan going through pain inside me,
Oh
where
no.
her dad was like, "Oh, like you were our own little Miss Marvel," and my head was like, "You were our own little some kind of Suicide Squad."
Please. Not like
Shout out to Will
this.
Smith. But yes, the second reveal.
But yes, the second big reveal, which I was hoping would happen,
Yeah,
we finally got to see Captain Marvel show up in the end credits or after credits scene.
yeah.
We see so there's some mixed information out there depending on where you look.
So
Some people go
I
ahead.
have a question from the
Uh,
comics, from what I've heard, but I don't really know much, and maybe you can answer.
mhm.
I thought I heard something about in the comics at one point that one of the things with Kamala's introduction is she kind of is going through a struggle of her identity and being a brown girl in America. And
Well,
is there a moment where she kind of like tries to look like Captain Marvel with blonde hair, or is there something like that that happens?
sort of,
Okay.
not tech, sort of. So when she first wakes up from the Terrigen Mist,
Mm-hmm.
like right after she goes through the whole chrysalis process,
Mm-hmm.
this, that, and the other, she, wakes up and she is Miss Marvel.
Captain.
Like she is got blonde hair,
Oh, okay.
white skin, this, that, and the other.
Okay.
So it's like right when she gets her powers, she
Okay.
wakes up as someone else. Because in the comics, she has shape shifting abilities.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't use her powers like that as the story goes on. You see her with the big hands
Mm-hmm.
just beating people down. So that's why there's some confusion as to what really took place at the end of this scene. So some people think it's that she finally awoke her actual abilities. You see her using her actual like embiggen and her fist in the episode. So some people think, oh, so now she transformed on accident. I think, and I mentioned this uh, probably around episode 2 or 3.
Mm.
Well, no, yeah,
Your
it
ghost
was
episode?
3 and 4
Yeah.
because that's the one I was around for. But I mentioned that the bracelets may be these negabands, which are tied to the negative zone or what may be Noor or Noor, however they're saying
Nor,
it
yeah.
here. But so in the comics, um, these negabands, you can swap places with someone from the negative zone.
That's 100% gotta be
So
it, right? Like this.
that's gotta be it. So what I'm thinking is she's got this bangle. We know the bangle is of some sort of cosmic entity or creation because of the jinn and everything that they explain. The powers, yes, the powers are her own. And maybe the bracelet just unlocked her mutant gene, allowed her access to this, that, and the other. Who knows? Whatever. It wasn't explained. So I'm thinking the nega bracelet or the nega band, um, for whatever reason, Captain Marvel
Swap
in
it.
her Fantasyland escapades off in the cosmos
Yeah.
ended up in this zone. She found the other bangle and swapped places with Kamala because we do see the bracelet start
It has like a
glowing.
red glow to it, right? Like, because it was just
Yeah,
purple before? Yeah.
Yeah, we see it start glowing right before this happens. So I'm thinking this is actually Captain Marvel. She has swapped places with Kamala. Kamala is in the cosmos somewhere, and that's going to be the setup for the
The Marvels.
Marvels. Because we don't know what happened to Kamala now. We don't know what happened to Photon, and Captain Marvel is back on Earth now.
That also gives
Um,
a reason for Captain Marvel to meet Kamala, because to
exactly.
this point she's just like a super fan, essentially. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, imagine like you just get zapped somewhere and you end up in
See
a
you.
room where you're just plastered all over the walls.
Yeah, I saw. That's why I asked, because I saw people talking about it of like, oh, that's
Mhm,
just Kamala, but she shapeshifted. I was like, no, that like she wouldn't have. She would be acting
mhm.
normal. She would have looked in the mirror, maybe, but
Yeah,
that's got to be Carol Danvers.
yeah.
So yeah, it's and now honestly, after that, it said Miss Marvel will return in the Marvels. I think that's the
Mhm.
first time in a long time where it actually said which project the character was going to be in next. So I think it's
Yeah,
always just like they will return. This is
exactly.
like the first time
Yeah,
since like Avengers 1. They're like, hey, here's what it is. But
exactly.
yeah, I assume it'll be something like that of like she has the other bangle or whatever. But
Yeah, and I think that's another reason people are confused, is because Carol does not have the other bangle,
yeah,
which is also points to it not really being
did her great grandma get
Kamala.
both in that flashback episode? And
No, there's always been one
just the
bangle
one, right?
throughout
Yeah.
the series. So the second bangle is somewhere, which makes me believe that it is actually these nega bands, nega bracelets, um, because the second one is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we have this swap at the very end of the show, and we were never told about the second. I mean, it's been briefly mentioned, of
Yeah.
course, because we know there's a second one out there. Um, but also like where did it go when she transformed?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I
So
think
we'll see.
I think the Marvels. I think Comic Con's probably gonna not answer a lot of questions, but it'll really maybe we'll get like a tease. Are they even filming it? I don't even know if they're filming it.
I don't know if this started filming yet. It is supposed
It's
to
supposed to come out next
release
year, right?
next year, though.
I'd assume so.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out next summer. So I believe production would have started by now
Probably have like
because
teaser images if anything.
yeah. But I'm expecting a lot of big news from Comic Con, especially with his mutant reveal.
Yeah, so we can go into
And
that as we finish this episode up.
I feel like we have to. We're gonna hear something about mutants. We're gonna hear something about the Kree, and we may get some Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel news as well.
Yeah.
Those are the three things that I am expecting from Marvel going into Comic Con.
Yeah. Well,
It's
that was Miss Marvel. Do you think we get a season 2, or do you think that's it? Do you think she's only in movies now?
um, I don't know. That is a good question. I think a lot would have to happen before we get a season 2, though,
Yeah.
because I hopefully, if we do get a season 2, Marvel has come to its senses and has stopped doing the 6 episode
Yeah,
format.
that's true. Yeah, because we have She-Hulk next month, and I don't know if it's confirmed
Mm.
how many episodes that's going to be.
I don't know either. Also, shout out to She-Hulk. We did see the what's this department?
Damage Control?
The damage control. We
Yeah.
saw the damage control guns in the She-Hulk trailer as well.
Oh,
So
really?
there's going to be some type of
They're
link
laser
with the
tag
damage
guns?
control. Also, the like pulse cannons they had on those vans
That was
kind of
used
resemble the ones they
in
had on
Hulk,
the
right?
tanks in
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk as well.
I remember while I was watching, I was like, that reminds me of something. I couldn't pinpoint it, but yeah, it was in Hulk.
Hmm.
But going into the end of this video, kind of mentioning what you were saying with Comic Con. So we do have plans for Comic Con, which we have finalized. Comic Con is coming up next week. At the time of this recording, this is the 13th. Comic Con starts next week on the 21st. What our plan is for Saturday the 23rd is DC Warner Brothers has their panel in the morning, and so we're gonna be recording any trailers that come out. We'll record reactions to that, and then Marvel has their panel at night at 5 p.m. Pacific. So we're gonna plan to do a stream on both of our channels on Twitch. We'll put a link in the description. We'll start the stream maybe about an hour or so before the panel starts. That way, we're not streaming all day, but we can still make videos for the DC stuff, and then we'll be live for the Marvel stuff. So make sure you guys keep an eye out for that on our Twitter. We'll have more information. We'll have links and everything for you guys. But yeah, that was Miss Marvel. Again, there was some stuff to enjoy in this season. There was some weird stuff with the mutation thing. Right now, I think I'm still kind of back and forth on it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. We'll kind of see how they make it work. But I think Comic-Con's going to be a lot of fun. Next series, we did just put up our live reaction to The Boys. Make sure you go check that out if you haven't already. I need to finish watching Umbrella Academy so we can get that recorded for you guys. And then She-Hulk will be coming out next month. Depending on how the schedule goes, we may actually be able to do weekly stuff for that. We'll figure it out. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting. Make sure you like, subscribe.